Hello students, let us discuss about the concurrency control, which is the topic of unit 4. In the concurrent processes, that means whenever multiple processes are getting executed simultaneously, at that time there are some of the things which the OS should be concerned of. So these are the operating system concerns whenever there is the multi-processing environment. Multiprocessing does not necessarily mean that the processes are completely concurrent or they are all executing simultaneously. So concurrent does not mean simultaneous. It simply means that whenever one process is getting executed, at that time, after some time, instead of completing that process, the CPU will be switched to another process, and before completing the second process also it will be switched to the third process, and all these things will happen so in a very fast manner such that we will feel that all the processes are running concurrently. So there are some OS concerns in the concurrent process environment. The operating system must be able to keep the track of various active processes by using their process control blocks. PCB means a process control block. That means suppose there are 4 processes active, P1, P2, P3 and P4. Then the operating system should know whether the P1 process is active at this time by loading its PCB or process control block into the main memory. Whenever the context is switched from the P1 process to the P2 process, that means the CPU time is allocated to the P2 process, then the process control block of P2 process will come into the main memory. So OS must keep the track of various active processes. Then OS must allocate and deallocate various resources to each active process. We know that there are the resources required for the completion of the process. What are the main resources given by the operating system? The resources are the time of the processor or CPU time, the memories, the file system, and the input and output devices. These are the 4 types of resources which are required by most of the processes. So the operating system is responsible for giving these processes the different kinds of resources. Okay. So operating system must protect the data and physical resources by of each unintended interference by the other processes. That means if these resources are given to one process, then the operating system must protect that running process from interference by the other processes. And the result of process must be independent of the speed at which the execution is carried out relative to the speed of other concurrent processes. That means suppose 2-3 processes are concurrent and there is some expected result of process P1, then that result should always be the same irrespective of the execution speed of that P1 process and the relative speed of its execution in relation with the other processes. Now competition among the processes for the resources. We know that there are 4 types of resources. What are those 4 types of resources basically which are required by most of the processes? That 4 types of resources are the CPU time, processor time, the memory, the files and the input and output devices. Now it can happen that many of the processes they compete among each other for gaining these resources. So 2 or more processes or many processes need to access a resource. Many times what happens is there is a single resource, like there is a single printer, and many of the processes are competing among themselves in order to access or in order to gain the control of that particular resource. Okay, so 2 or more processes need to access a resource or a same resource during the course of their execution, and it happens that if there are 2 processes P1 and P2, they want the resource called as a printer. That printer comes under which category of the resource? It comes under the category of IO device. So suppose there is a printer and process P1 and P2 both wants printer for their execution, but P1 is unaware of P2 and P2 is unaware of existence of P1. That can happen. So every process is unaware of existence of the other process. Each process is to be unaffected by the execution of the other process. Thus, each process should leave the state of the resource that it uses unaffected. Suppose P1 process uses that printer. Okay, and after finishing its job, the P2 process uses the printer. So the P2 process should not affect that resource. So in turn, it will not be affecting the execution of the other process. So whenever there is no exchange of information between the competing process, then we say that the two processes are not communicating it with each other, or they are not cooperating. So that kind of category of processes is called as non-cooperative processes. So if the two processes are communicating it with each other, then we can say that they are the communicating processes. Okay. One resource when allocated to one process, other has to wait for it, thus slowing down the speed. The meaning of it is, suppose there are two processes as I explained earlier. There is the process P1 and there is another process called as P2, and both of these processes wants some resource which is a printer resource. So suppose that printer resource is with P1 process, then P2 also wants that printer resource, but that P2 has to wait. Okay, unless and until the P1 relinquish that printer resource, P2 cannot perform its operation. So in this case, what is happening? The performance of that P2 is getting affected by the P1 process which is using the printer. That's why it is said that one resource when allocated with one process, other has to wait for it. When printer is allocated to P1, P2 has to wait for that printer, thus slowing down the speed of the P2 process. Right? So in this way, when there is the common resource which is the need of two processes, one process has to wait for the other to relinquish that particular resource. Now, what is this? Three control problems, competition. Competition means whenever multiple processes or simultaneous processes are getting executed. As I told you earlier, this is not actual simultaneous execution of the process. Simultaneous execution means the CPU time will be divided among the different processes according to the different CPU scheduling algorithms. So in this case, whenever there is a competition of the processes or the simultaneous processes for a common resource, for example, P1 and P2 and P3 all wants printer. In this case, we can say that P1, P2 and P3 are the simultaneous processes, but they are competing for the same resource, which is a printer resource, which is under the category of input and output device. We know that there are only four possible types of resources. Like there can be the CPU time, there can be the IO devices, the file systems, okay, and there can be the memory. All these are the possible resources of provided by the operating system. And operating system always tries to allocate all these resources to the running processes. So whenever two or more processes are competing among themselves for the same resource, what problems or control problems can be there which can occur due to the processes competing among themselves for the common resource. So whenever there is a competition of the concurrent processes for a common resource, there can be three control problems. The need for mutual exclusion, that means we have to implement the mutual exclusion such that the resource will be properly allocated to one process, and after that it will be allocated to the other process without intervening or without intervention of the process with one another, and that resource will also be unaltered. The second problem is the deadlock problem, and the third problem is a starvation problem. So all these problems occur due to the processes competing among themselves for a common resource. So let us see all these three control problems one by one. So whenever there are the processes competing with each other for a common resource, there arises a need for mutual exclusion. Now what is the meaning of mutual exclusion? The meaning of mutual exclusion is simply some kind of software object. Whenever that object is with one process, the other process cannot have the same kind of resource. That means suppose the process P1 is using the printer. Then process P2 will not be allowed to use the printer, because printer resource is with process P1. So P2 process is excluded from using the resource which is printer, which is with P1. So this is called as a mutual exclusion. Whenever P1 and P2 wants the same resource, they are mutually excluded with the use of the resource printer. Okay. So what is the need of mutual exclusion? Why the need of mutual exclusion arises? Whenever there is a competition of the processes for the same resource, two or more processes require access to the same non-shareable, single non-shareable resource such as a printer. Okay, then we can say that the resource is called as a critical resource. Okay, because the resource is same and there are multiple processes which wants to use the same resource. And suppose the P1 process is using the printer. Since the P1 process is using the critical resource, the portion of the code of the P1 process which is making use of printer resource is called as a critical section of the code. So what is a critical section of the code? Critical section of the code is the code of the process whenever that process is working with the critical resource. So whenever one process is in its critical section, the other process cannot enter into its critical section. The other process is said to be excluded from the use of the critical section code. So two or more processes required to access a single shareable resource, non-shareable resource such as a printer, and such a resource is called as a critical section, and the portion of the code inside the process which is using the critical resource is called as a critical section of the process or critical section of the program. So only one process should be allowed to enter in its critical section. One cannot see, and what happens is for this particular phenomenon, that means only one process can enter into its critical section. The other process cannot go into its critical section, because the other process is going into its critical section means it is using the same resource, and the resource should be mutually excluded. That means one process, if it is using that resource, the other process should not be allowed to use the same resource. In that case, if one process is entering into its critical section, or that portion of the program of the process in which that particular resource is getting used, then other process should be banned from using that critical section of the code. So what happens is you as a programmer cannot rely on the operating system to enforce this restriction on the other process to go into its critical section when one process is already in its critical section. What the programmer has to do is he or she has to enforce this restriction from his end without relying on the operating system to understand this problem and to enforce this mutual exclusion. So mutual exclusion many times is to be provided by the programmer. The second problem which may arise due to the competition of the concurrent processes is called as a deadlock. So what is a deadlock? Deadlock is whenever there are two processes which are holding some resource. For example, P1 process is having the printer resource and P2 is having some file as a resource. But the thing is, P1 and P2, these two processes, both of the processes, they cannot be completed unless and until they have two resources. For example, for its completion, P1 wants printer as well as file, and for its completion, P2 also wants file as well as printer. But printer is with P1 and file is with P2. So both P1 and P2, they require both things, both resources. They require both printer and file to get completed. Okay, but the printer is blocked. Okay, it is with P1. So printer is blocked from using by P1 and the file is blocked from using by P2. So these two processes will not be completed because they are stuck up somewhere. P1 wants file, okay, and P2 wants printer, but that printer is with P1 and P2 is with file. Okay, sorry, file is with P2. So in this particular case, both of the processes require both of the resources and they cannot be completed. Okay, so this problem is called as a deadlock. So particularly your mutual exclusion can also create a problem of deadlock. So P1 is mutually excluding P2 from using printer and P2 is mutually excluding P1 from using file. So in this case, these two processes will not be able to complete, and that's why this is the problem called as a deadlock problem. Okay. So the competition among different processes also gives rise to one problem called as a starvation. Starvation means one of the process will remain hungry. It will not get the particular resource, whatever it wants. So suppose for starvation problem, again we will use one example. There are three processes P1, P2 and P3. They require the periodic access of the resource R. That means it's not that the P1 will get the R resource and it will get completed. It requires the periodic access of it. Okay. P2 also requires a periodic access of R. Okay. So timely access of after some time it will again require the same resource R. The process P1 currently using R. Suppose that resource is with P1. So P2 and P3 processes will wait. Whenever process P1 exits critical section or it leaves that resource R, suppose P3 gains the control. Okay. So what is happening is P1, P2 and P3, all these three processes require the resource called as a R in a continuously periodic fashion. So in this case, suppose P1 is using that resource R and leaving that resource. Now P3 is getting the resource. Suppose P3 gains control of the resource and suppose P1 again needs that resource. Meanwhile, what happens is by the time P3 finishes its first use of R, P1 comes and P1 asks for that resource R and OS assigns it to P1. And whenever P1 exits that resource, it is allocated to P3. So this continuously happens. First of all, the P1 uses the R resource, then P3 uses the R resource, then again P1 uses R resource, then again P3 uses R resource. In this particular situation, what happens to P2? P2 never gets the ownership of R. So P2 remains hungry. So this problem is called as a starvation problem, right? So what is the next point? Cooperation among the processes. There are the two types of cooperation among the processes. Cooperation among the processes by sharing and cooperation among the processes by communication. Cooperation means, as we know that there are the cooperative processes and non-cooperative processes. Non-cooperative processes, they are not dependent on each other. They do not communicate with each other. They do not share the resources. Okay, so they are the non-cooperative processes. They are completely independent from each other. The cooperative processes means they perform some cooperative activity with one another. There are two types of cooperative processes, or there are two methods of cooperation among the processes. Some processes cooperate by sharing the global resource or global variable. So this is called as cooperation among the processes by sharing. The second is the processes cooperate by sending and receiving messages with one another. This type of cooperation among the processes is called as cooperation by communication. That means the processes cooperate. Some processes or cooperative processes cooperate with one another. Non-cooperative processes, they are completely independent processes. They do not share anything. They do not pass messages with one another. So those processes are called as non-cooperative processes. In cooperative processes, there is a cooperation between the processes. Cooperative processes, they either share some kind of resource or global variable, or cooperative processes, they communicate with each other. So there is cooperation among the processes by sharing, or there is cooperation among the processes by communication. Let us see the first case, cooperation among the processes by sharing. So processes that interact with one another without being explicitly aware of the other process, they access a shared variable or a file or a database. So the cooperative processes which makes use of sharing for communication, they either share a variable, a global variable, a file or a database, and by using this particular common variable or a file or a database, they cooperate with each other. processes must cooperate to ensure that data they share are properly managed. Okay, so they should work on the same data, but that data should be unaffected at the end, or it should be as per the required result. Control problems are again present. We had seen three control problems whenever there is some kind of competition among the processes. What are those three control problems? Need of mutual exclusion, deadlock and starvation. Those control problems are also present whenever the process cooperate with each other by sharing the files or the database or the variables. For example, there are two processes which are cooperating with each other by sharing some kind of resource or by sharing some kind of variable. So in this case, P1 process is accessing the variable A and the same process is accessing a variable B. P2 process is also accessing A as well as it is accessing B. So what is the requirement of this particular project or the requirement of the program, or we can say the system, is that A and B should be always equal. So what happens is here the two processes are cooperating. These two processes are P1 and P2. They are accessing or they are sharing the common variables A and B. But the requirement is A should be always equal to B. So writing operations must be mutually exclusive. The meaning of this is, suppose the order of operation is P1 is doing what? P1 is incrementing A by 1 and it is incrementing B by 1. And P2 is doing what? It is multiplying both of the variables by 2. So if it is done in this particular fashion, suppose A is incremented by 1 and after that B is incremented by 1 and the P1 process is completed. And then P2 takes over and it takes B and A and they are multiplied with 2 and then P2 process is completed. In this case, the values of A and B will be the same. Suppose the initial values of A and B are 1. So whenever P1 is completed, P1 process is completed, what will be the values of A and B? They will be 2 and 2 respectively. Now if the P2 process operates on A and B, then what will be the values of A and B? It will be 4 and 4. So in this case there is no problem. That means data integrity is maintained, because what is the requirement for the integrity here? A should be equals to B, right? But what happens is, suppose in this case A is operated on, that means process 1, it works on A, then A will be incremented by 1, it will become 2. But after that process 2 comes and it operates on B. So B will be multiplied by 2 and it will become 2. Then what happens is process 1 operates on B. So B becomes 3 and then process 2 operates on A, so that it becomes 4. So this particular execution sequence, that means first of all process 1 works on A, then process 2 works on B, then process 1 works on B, then process 2 works on A. This particular execution sequence is leading to the results A equals to 4 and B equals to 3. So in this case our requirement of data integrity is not satisfied. A and B are not matching. So what should happen is the writing operations must be mutually exclusive. That means whenever P1 is accessing this particular A and B variables, then it should first finish its job completely. That means P2 should be excluded from accessing A or B. Suppose P1 is accessing A, then after that the P2 should not be, or at that time that B variable should not be accessible to P2. In this case, in the second case, what is happening? P1 is working on A and simultaneously your P2 is working on B. So whenever P1 is working on A, at that time P2 should not be allowed to work on B. That means writing on A and B should be mutually excluded, or this writing operation must be mutually exclusive, so that there will be data coherence. Okay, otherwise the result will be the wrong result. Okay, so you have to declare the entire section or entire sequence as a critical section. So a complete section of the code should be declared as a critical section. So if P1 is working on A, then P2 should not be allowed to work on B. The complete section on that is the operation on A and B is a critical section. P1 will perform its complete critical section, then only it will leave. Then P2 will perform its complete critical section, then only it will be leaved. Okay, so in this case, this is the example of two processes are cooperating with each other by sharing some kind of data. But how the mutual exclusion is needed in this case, that we have seen. Second is the processes are the cooperative processes. That means they are performing cooperation with each other, but this time they are communicating with each other. See, the processes can communicate with each other by using different techniques. The processes can use the techniques called as messages. The messages can be sent from one process to the other process. Okay, for that some operating system functions are needed. The second is the processes also can use the queues. Okay, it's a type of special message. So these two things, the messages, the queues, can be used by one process to communicate with the other process. So in this case also the types of processes will be calling as the cooperative processes, because the processes are cooperating with each other by message passing or by communication. Processes communicate or processes cooperate by communication. They participate in common effort that links all of the processes. Communication provides a way to synchronize various activities. That means suppose P1 process is working on some kind of resource, and if its job is done, okay, so it can notify the other process or it can tell the P2 process by passing the message. Then the P2 process can ask for that resource. Okay, so communication provides a way to synchronize various activities. Process synchronization is achieved by using this communication. Communication is in the form of sending and receiving messages. Mutual exclusion is not a problem if there is no sharing between the processes. Okay, so in this case, since there is no direct sharing, they are communicating with each other. They are not sharing the common resource. So you don't have to work on the mutual exclusion. So, but still there is a deadlock possibility. There is still the starvation possibility in this case of the processes cooperating with each other by passing messages or by communication. So, how the deadlock is possible? Two processes may be blocked waiting for communication from each other. That means if there are two processes, there is a P1 process, okay, and there is one more process, P2 process. Now what is happening is P1 process is waiting for some message from P2 and P2 process is waiting for some message from P1. So what is happening is P1 is already waiting. It is saying that unless and until P2 gives me the message, I will not proceed. P2 is saying that P1, unless and until P1 gives me the message, I will not proceed. So in this case, both of the processes are stuck up and they are waiting from the messages from the other process. So in this case, the deadlock is possible. The first problem is not possible. The mutual exclusion requirement, it is not needed because the two processes are not sharing a common resource. They are communicating with each other. So out of three control problems, one control problem will not exist in this particular case. So the deadlock is possible, the starvation is possible. How the starvation is possible? So P1 is repeatedly attempting to communicate with P2 and P3. P2 and P3 attempt to communicate with P1. A sequence may arise in which P1 and P2 continuously communicate with each other while P3 is blocked and waiting for the communication. So here is the example of the processes communicating with each other. Suppose P1, P2 and P3, there are three processes, right? So P1, P2 and P3 both wants to communicate with P1, okay, but it may happen that P1 is communicating with P2 and P2 is communicating with P1 and the P3 will be waiting or it will be indefinitely waiting. It will be blocked from the communication. So this is the problem of starvation. But this kind of starvation is not happening for kind of resource. This kind of starvation is happening whenever one process is continuously waiting for the message from the other process. Okay, so this is the starvation for the communication, or earlier was a deadlock for the communication. Okay, that is the thing. Okay, so the next point, requirements of the mutual exclusion, that we will see in the next following video. Thank you for listening patiently. Thanks a lot.